and it regards the real GOAT, and that is Emerson Royale. And the question is Emerson's future now at centre-back? We'll start with you, Sean.
Wow. It is in a system that we saw against Palace that pivoted and allowed him to be a right-sided centre-back and a right back in a back four. Like I said this on a channel earlier, and I said it on my video as well. I feel like there is we have amongst us a bit of a few options. If you look at what Nagelsmann did at Bayern Munich, whilst on paper it looked like a 4-2-2-2 or a 4-4-2 with random structure to it, you had like an Alphonso Davies at left back, and then you had like a Pavard at right back who had the propensity to play right-sided centre-back like Emerson, and then alongside that you had like an Upamecano and a De Ligt. And I feel like, even though it looked like a back four on paper, Alphonso Davies was playing more as like a left wing forward or a left wing forward. I think the same thing could happen with Bayern Munich. They had Kimmich play just in a tight number 6 that put that back three. And then it was like a 3-1-5-1 where you had players like Musiala and Sane, Mane, with Alphonso Davies and, say, a Sabitzer in front of them, and then like a Thomas Muller most recently this season playing up top. That, to me, is a system that could and should be employed with Tottenham next season. If you can go and get a left-sided centre-back like a Laporte, like an Ndicka or a Hincapie, whoever, someone who's left-footed to play alongside Romero, like Clement Longley did yesterday, go and get a proper number 6 to sit in front of them, like what Ollie Skip tried to do but doesn't do it well enough. Then I think that Emerson Royale can be that person who plays as a right-back. I don't think his future is a right wing-back, but a right-back that can slip into a back three when necessary. I think you could make the same augmentation that what Bayern Munich do, but on the left-hand side, you could have Ben Davies that could play the left back or could play the left-sided centre-back, and then have Pedro Porro doing the same role on the right. As long as you have a monster number 6, and we don't have that. We have 5 or 6 number 8s that have slight different variations. Some of them have got the ability to cover more ground. Others have got better footwork and can pass the ball. Some of them are better defensively. But we need someone like a Ugarte or a Polinia or even a Frank Kessie or Calvin Phillips, who I think would be a good one for us. Anyone like that can sit in that number 6 and protect that back three. And if you do that, then absolutely Emerson Royale can play as a right back or a right-sided centre-back. His future is not as a right wing-back in a 3-4-3, but it can be on the right side of a back four or the right side of a back three in the centre-back role. But it all depends on the manager you get. And I think that Emerson's position and his temperament yesterday was absolutely superb. Coming straight back in, having been out for 8-9 weeks or however long he's been out for, he was largely the difference between the gap in confidence. Before, we've had zero confidence at the back, especially when the ball's pinged down the width against us. Yesterday, his presence was a spectacular improvement. And so I don't know if I'm rambling or going off tangent, but for me, Emerson Royale can play as a right-sided centre-back, or his future can be as a right-back in a back four, as long as you get a manager who can utilise him in the right way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot-on analysis, to be honest. Ash, you feeling the same way?
Yeah, I'll echo that. I'll just say, just to add to that, I think Mason got the best out of Emerson in that game against Palace in isolation, because in possession, it was, for me, for what I saw, a 3-4-3, and out of possession, it was a 4-4-2. And I think that's how you get the best out of Emerson, because from what I saw prior to that, he naturally, even when he was playing that wing-back role, he used to like to do, I call it an underlapping run, where he runs in the insides of the winger. And he did that a lot against Palace, but as a centre-back. And a lot of the centre-backs are asked to kind of do that kind of run, where they're not hugging the touchline, but they still support the attack, because they act as an extra body coming forward, and they make late runs into the box or just outside the box, just to create an extra body, to create an extra passing line, to make a triangle or a square, etc., etc. And I think defensively, Emerson Royale is probably one of our better defenders when it comes to heading the ball. So I think when Porro was playing right wing back with Romero alongside him as a right-sided centre-back, both of them were quite short. and so teams would hit balls over the top, and they both weren't very good aerially, and teams were finding a way in through that side. When I think Mason deploying Emerson Royale there actually complemented Porro, because he's not only just physically and athletically above that, suits him in that position. I think like you need that height, you need that speed, you need that pace, and then also when you give him the ball, he's not someone that panics under the pressure. Yeah, he cannot cross. He's not good at crossing, and his final ball could be worked on. But I think in possession, building out from the back, he actually does it quite well. And also his character as well. As a right-sided centre-back, I think him playing a little bit deeper, naturally he just drops in deeper. He's naturally a defender like that. So he naturally just sits there and helps to protect the players going forward. So sometimes he does drop into the back three naturally as well. Even if he is in the back four, he will sometimes come over, and just because that's what he needs from his teammates. And his overall attitude, he's quite like reminds me of a Brazilian Sonny, because he's always smiling, always like, even when the fans were against him, he was still had like a can-do, happy-go-lucky attitude, and he thought the fans were saying something good about him, even when they were saying something bad about him. And the fact that he went to spend extra money on his football, it just shows how much, as a young player as well, how much fight he has in him. Do you know what I mean? But as a right-sided centre back, yeah, I think it was a good touch. I think it worked in that game in isolation, and I think in depending on the opposition, I think it could work. I think he's got enough time to grow, is what I'm saying, because he's a young player. He's got enough time to develop in that particular role.
Yeah, I like the look of him in that role, to be honest. And I think it's probably a role that suits him a lot more than how we've deployed him ever since he's come here. And I think a lot of fans have been calling him to be playing that right centre-back, role that he did play on the weekend. I do question when we do play a more possession-based game and we do have to start having really good passes out the back and playing through teams' presses. Is he going to be really good at that, or is it something we're going to have to manage? And I think it is something you can if you have maybe better passes alongside him, and then maybe he's not the one who's trying to beat the press. But I'm just worried he can become a bit of a press trigger like Sanchez is. Like when everyone knows when Sanchez gets the ball, you just that's like a trigger to start pressing, because they know he isn't great from playing out the back. And I'm just worried that Emerson could become that if he doesn't improve his on the ball quality. I think defensively wise and his positional
bad as Sanchez though.
Well, I mean, he's not great playing out the back. Has he proven to be much better than Sanchez playing out the back?
I would say that from what we've seen, I think he is better than Sanchez. Maybe.
Yeah, but he's always on a different position. He's always on the right-hand side. So it's very different doing that to doing it in the central position to where Sanchez is. So, like, I'm not saying he's worse than Sanchez. I'm just saying, is he going to get to a stage where he's really good? Because we need really good players, like, in those positions. So maybe as like a short term. Go on.
Sorry, mate. No,
I'm saying as a short-term thing. Really as a short-term thing, like maybe if we can't afford to like move along a lot of players, as a short-term thing, maybe for a season or two he can be there. But I think in the long term, I do question whether he's going to be good enough in that role to like on the ball to be our long-term successor there.
What I would say on that one is just I think that Romero moving into the centre yesterday was spectacular, right? The through ball, the lofted ball over the top was reminiscent of Alderweireld and Vertonghen level stuff when he put Sonny through. Spectacular. Sonny could have done better. So if you can move Romero into the middle, or have the option of playing him on the right, and you know that Romero has the ability on the ball to do that, like I've been presenting an argument a couple of weeks back that Romero's good enough with his on the ball stuff to play in the 6. Because I don't necessarily trust his rashness a little bit. Sometimes you can be a rash number 6, but you shouldn't be a rash centre-back if you're sliding in too much. Anyway, another conversation for another day. But if you then have Longley, as we are where we are right now, who, again, can play the ball from the left, it would be a dream world to have 3 centre-backs that are fast, that are physical, that are all good in the air, that could all play the ball out with their strong foot from either side and through the centre, and also defend with an aplomb. But in reality, in order to do that, you're going to have to go and drop 45-50 million quid if you can even get him on a Laporte. who can play on the left. You're also going to have to drop 50 million quid on someone like a Gleison Bremer who can do it from the centre and then keep Romero on the right. If you're going to play Emerson, I don't necessarily think that you can expect perfection. He's only 23. I think he can learn and can improve his on-the-ball stuff. I think his defensive capabilities right now, given how much money it's going to cost to make this team perfect or closer to it, it's so beyond our real realms of reason that, for me, I'd rather go and focus on one major centre-back signing that can improve defensively on the left-hand side and has the propensity to not dilute our ability that Longley offers on the ball. And I'll suffer Emerson. Like, if you can get 2 of the 3 centre-backs to be able to be good on the ball, right, really good on the ball, be able to ping the balls left and right or whatever, but all 3 of them are defensively solid aerially, they're fast, they're strong, they're quick, and they're composed and considered and organised, I'll take that right now. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, we have the luxury of going, okay, now we need to go and get all 3 centre-backs that can do everything. But right now, I think that Emerson Royale, I'll tolerate his limitations as long as it means that we can go and spend that money on the left-sided centre-back that can do all things that Romero can do, plus more.
Yeah, agreed. That was pretty much my position.
It's actually spot on, because my next question was going to be, and I'll give it to you, Ash, if we were to move on to next season, still playing 3 at the back, would you accept Emerson, Romero, and then one of the centre-backs that Sean was talking, Ndika, Hincapié, or the Man City Laporte?
Yeah, for me, it's a thing where different players will complement each other where they might lack or they might proceed in certain qualities. So you might have 2 ball-playing centre-backs like Sean and Sim were alluding to, but then the other centre-back might be better at making that extra run or dribbling with the ball, or, do you know what I mean, making that spare man and being available. Because Emerson, let's face it, his long balls aren't his strength. That's where he's weak at. But where you find his strengths, I mean, on the ball. I remember when he was playing on the right with Kulu, even down to last season, they didn't play too bad. It was just Emerson's final delivery that was a problem. But in terms of being pressed in that particular area, I don't think Emerson was that player where you could press Emerson and he would lose the ball. I think he was actually not too bad in that area, because there was a lot of time where Kulu got the ball and he started doing his runs and Emerson left him to it. Do you know what I mean? I think on the ball, if you've got, like I said before, 2 centre-backs that can find, and you've got to remember, we've got 2 double pivots as well that play in between the first line of the press and the second line of the press. They're the ones that get on the ball. They're the ones that kind of do that quarterback pass that you're talking about, or that switch of play. All Emerson has to do is just short pass to one of those 2. And when we're playing out from the back doing a transition, you need that system where you have the 2 pivots, they create a triangle, or they create a square, they create an extra pass line. So I think Emerson Royale is not that much of a drop-off, if that makes sense, in that particular area on the ball as well. I just think he offers, because he's more mobile, he kind of like makes the run to kind of open up the space where these other players, they're not as mobile, so they might just ping a pass instead. Like Longley doesn't really do that kind of off the running, like how Ben Davies does. But Longley got better range of passing than Davies on that side. But what Davies gives you is running forwards, good blocking. He's more defensive, like aggressive naturally compared to Longley. Do you know what I mean? So like each player kind of gives each other a compliment. They complement each other in different ways, if that makes sense. You might lose one thing from one player, but then you gain it from another player and vice versa. So I think it's all about the balance. And I said, with the 2 double pivots being there, they also help the solidity of the 3 at the back to create a 5, if that makes sense. So I'll be okay with Royale staying there. I mean, I'm not to say he's going to have an excellent performance against the top 6 teams and he won't get found out every now and then. I'm not saying that. But if we did buy a left-sided centre-back, I would be happy.
Ash,
especially if it's like
do you think that we need I keep saying this phrase, a monster number 6? Right, at the moment, you've got Bentancur, who we don't know what version of him is going to return in November. Right, when you've broken your ligaments, it's like it never feels the same. So even if he does get back to his best, you think that Højbjerg, Skippy, and Sarr and Bissouma are what we need? Or do you think we need to go and get... I know a lot of people want us to go and get your player, like whoever, Maddison or James Ward-Prowse, whatever. Me personally, I would rather see us go and drop more money. I think we score enough goals. I just think we don't protect ourselves enough at the back. I'd love to see us go and get and insert that monster number 6, whichever name you want. Do you think that we need one, or do you think we're okay with what we have?
It's a hard one. I look at the position of Højbjerg and Skip, and obviously Skip is more defensive, or he's positioned slightly behind Højbjerg, and he's meant to be more of that defensive pivot, and Højbjerg's meant to be more of a centre mid, I'd say. But I look at Skip, I don't really see him as a destroyer, although like tactically he is there to protect, the back three or back four, whatever you want to call it. So I do think we could upgrade, but do you really want to lose Skip in that position? I'd
rather sell Højbjerg. I'm honest. I think Højbjerg's got more asset value.
I'm with you on that, Sean.
Get 30 million.
I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks. I mean, if someone like Manuel Ugarte is available from Sporting Lisbon, you go and get him and you ship Højbjerg out the door, in my opinion. And I think that goes for any top quality number 6. I mean, if we can upgrade anywhere on the pitch, I want to do that, and especially in that position. But I would prefer to obviously my first targets need to be goalkeeper, centre back, and then we can start worrying about those kind of positions.
But the thing is, my only issue with that is, if you're going to get a monster 6, does that mean Skip moves higher up the pitch? And if Skip moves higher up the pitch, has he demonstrated in this season that he has the ability to score more goals, to pass balls through the eye of the needle in tight spaces, to break the lines, to basically progress the ball in that final third, to kind of supply Kane, to do what Kane does? Because that's what we're asking that midfielder.
Skip either goes out alone or he drops down to rotation. Yeah.
So this is my thing.
You've got to give Bissouma more of a look in next season.
So then that means both of them have to go potentially. One, like you said, on low or on the bench, and one just has to go permanently, because the two then won't work together. One can't stay because one's not.
No, Højbjerg goes,
and then one.
Højbjerg goes. You bring in the monster. Let's, for argument's sake, use Ugarte as the example. You bring in Ugarte he's probably going to cost you 50 million. You sell Højbjerg. Hopefully, you can get 25 or 30 for him. So you take a net loss, and then in the start of the season, you play Ugarte and Bissouma, and then you have Skippy and Sarr on the bench. And then when Benson calls back, you then figure out at that point who deserves the merit, and then you use Skippy and Sarr, much like you have this season, as rotation players. Neither of them, and there, if you do qualify for the Conference League, that's where you go and play Skippy and Sarr and Alfie De Bruyne or whatever. Go and figure out where the merit of order is there.
Yeah, fair enough. So do you invest in the Ugarte? Where do you play Bissouma in that role? Does Bissouma start? Does Ugarte start? Does Bissouma go to the bench? And then
I think both of them together, that's the double pivot, Ugarte, Bissouma.
So Bissouma's more the attacking one out of the two then? Is that what you're saying?
I would say so, yeah.
And then what, not have a 10 then? Because then we're still playing 2 in midfield.
Well, I mean, this conversation, I mean, it means nothing because we don't know what kind of system we're going to be playing next season. But, I mean, if it's the system that we're playing now, then Bissouma, Ugarte, and then the 2 number 10s will be the 2 wingers as such.
Yeah, you shouldn't need Ugarte if you're playing. If you've got a back 3, then it's not as necessary to have a monster number 6, or it shouldn't be. But if you've got a back 4, and like I said, under the Nagelsmann system, where he wants to play really a 3-1-5-1, like he did at Bayern Munich, then you'd have Ugarte with Romero, and let's use Laporte as the example. Those are the two defenders. You put Ugarte in front of them, and then you either have Udogie on the left and Emerson next to him, or you have Ben Davies on the left and you have Porro on the right. And that's the way you'd set up. So it's a back 4 technically with Ugarte, and then when everyone's fit, you'd have Bissouma and maybe Bentancur as the 3 in midfield, and then you can play Kane, Sonny, and Decky or Richarlison or whatever you want to do with the front 3. Almost like a 4-3-3. That's how I would envision it. But It all depends on fitness. There's always going to be injuries. And like I say, I don't know what to expect from Bentancur because when I dislocated my knee 3 times playing rugby when I was a kid. Once my knee went the first time, my ligaments got torn and ripped as well. They were never the same. And, they went 2 more times after that.
Yeah,
so
but did you have a state-of-the-art medical department to try and make them the same?
State-of-the-art. You put in the Tottenham medical department, state-of-the-art. Sean probably had better medical team than Tottenham did.
No, I didn't. Bristol University was not the state-of-the-art medical treatment that you've got at Hotspur Lodge or whatever it's called. So, yeah.
I just think modern day football. I think with modern day football at the moment, they really do like that quarterback kind of player, like that kind of Neves, that person that sits at the back. They're not necessarily super defensive, but they're hardworking and they progress the ball because that's what helps their tactics. I am for a destroyer, old school Wanyama style, like someone that just takes players out, protects the back line. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just think modern day football, how some of these managers want it. That's the reason why Winks was starting. That's why Mason started Winks. I didn't understand it. Or Poch was starting Winks with Sissoko. I was like, why are you starting Winks? But it come like they just like them kind of players that kind of just sit there and then they just spray the ball, switch to play balls long. But I feel like, in my opinion, if you've got 2 or 3 ball playing centre backs that can spray those balls in those areas, there's no really need. Like I'm all for like that destroyer in the back, like just having like a single pivot rather than a double pivot because you lose a lot attacking. Because for me, in that Crystal Palace game, the reason why it was so boring is because A, we had a lack of movement up top, but B, when Højbjerg was on the ball, he kept doing this, like he's doing this with his hands a lot, and because he's doing that, he's like he doesn't know where to pass. He can see the pass, but because it's so tight, he's too nervous to make that pass because we might lose possession. So he hasn't got that kind of risk factor, and also he hasn't got quick feet where he wants to kind of dribble in tight areas as well. So I think that's a big problem for Spurs, especially if we're going to be more of a possession-based team under, like, if we do get an Nagelsmann. Like, if we're under Xabi Alonso, it's different, but under a Nagelsmann, we're more of a possession-based team. I think we need players that can just get on the ball and just make it happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially in the middle of the park. You can't just be doing this. If the pass ain't on, he's just doing that. Like, teams are going to just be compact against us. Like, Hodgson was going to always have 2 backs of 4 or a back 5 on a 4, you know? So I think we really need to invest in that. I know we do need a monster 6, but yeah, I think we do need a playmaker. I think that's my opinion.
I completely agree with you, Ash. I think we lack serious passing ability in our midfield. Like, we don't have anyone who's like elite at passing. That's the reality, and we definitely need to up that level at the moment because we have a lot of strong players who are like they're all good on the ball, but none of them are great on the ball. And we have like no Neves or like a Jorginho or someone or like Gundogan or Leo, someone who's like really amazing at passing a ball, like with real vision. And that's what
would you take Neves?
Midfield. I would 100%. I love Neves.
Yeah. Put him in the 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of Ruben Neves.
Sean is sold.
Yeah, I'm on board that train.
Yeah, I think so. Have him, Basuma, and whoever else next to him. I think that's a solid midfield. In Ndombele, bring him home.
I was wondering when you were going to say that on a live stream because I know you say it in the WhatsApp group, like all the time in a closed. I was like, does he say this stuff out loud in front of thousands?
He's already said it on YouTube a few times. Don't you worry, Sean.
Fair enough. Yeah. Do you want him back, do you, Sim? Do you want him back?
If the new manager wants him back, I want him back.
Oh, another chance for this guy. Another chance. How many chances can he? He must be a cat.
How many chances has he had under an attacking manager?
Jesus Christ.
Not many.
Man.
Not many. If the manager wants him, if the manager wants him, I'm happy for him to have another chance.
Another chance.
If you were the manager,
throw him in the bin one more time.
Sim, if you were the manager, would you ask him to come back? Would you say to Daniel Levy, don't worry about Maddison, save your money, go and get me a decent Laporte, go and get me a decent Indica or Hincapié or whatever, go and get me David Raya, and then Daniel Levy says, well, wait a minute, we've got the chance of getting Maddison or James Ward-Prowse. You go, no, I'm okay with Tanguy. Go get him Tanguy, bring him back.
I would take Maddison over Tanguy. I don't see him as I wouldn't want him for a number 10 kind of role. But if we're looking for a central midfielder with quality, then I think then look, he has bags of it. We know that. He has one of the biggest amount of ability you're ever likely to see. So I think if a manager can get him playing, if a manager can get him playing, then I'm all for having him back.
If you're looking for a centre mid that gasses out after 10 minutes of being on the pitch, then by all means, bring him back.
You know what?
Ben doesn't agree.
In Dembele, he splits the debate of fans, but he does have an amazing ability. The only problem I do have with him is like his gait, the way he runs is a bit mad. He runs a bit mad, and like you were saying, Ben, his stamina is questionable. Sometimes I want him to press, and it's like I don't know. It's like he's running like in slower motion. But in saying that,
he ain't got that twitch. He ain't got that twitch. His legs just don't move. Yeah, you understand that as a PT. He just doesn't. His legs don't move that fast, man. He's never going to drop into 50.
It moves pretty quickly when he's dribbling, though, doesn't it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm about to say. When he's on the ball, he's a demon. I don't get it. It's like, it's weird. Off the ball, uninterested. On the ball, he's just a different character altogether. He could beat 3-4 guys in a hat. And sometimes you just need that in a game. Like, throw him 20 minutes to go. You need a goal, and he just comes and just does this stuff. But yeah, that's my only gripe.
We all know the ability that this guy has. We all know it. But ability is not the only thing you need as a footballer. You need many more things than ability. And he doesn't have a lot of those things that you need.
100%, Ben. Ben, let me ask you this, mate. If you had, there's 8 players out on loan.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one to come back, who is it?
Reguilon, for me. Reguilon is the only one I think we have a space for in the squad. To be honest, I wouldn't want to see Lo Celso back, wouldn't want to see Winks back, wouldn't want to see Ndombele. I think Reguilon probably the only one, especially with Perisic aging. Sessegnon needs to go, so I think there's a space for Reguilon if he wants to prove himself here again.
I agree 100%. 100%.
But look, go on.
Who would be the one I bring back? I mean, again, it all depends on the manager, but I would say
Ndombele, he's going to say.
I'll say Ndombele. Bring him back. Bring him home.
Ash, who are you picking?
It's tough, man. Could bring back the baller. Lo Celso was an interesting one, because if it wasn't for his injuries, I wouldn't mind seeing him in that double pivot, because he's that kind of hard-working players that the managers really like. They like players that can get about, hard-working, in the midfield, in the double pivot. He can bring the ball forward, he dribbles, he can actually contribute to attacks as well as defensive attributes as well. But I'm going to have to go Regs as well. I think Reguilon, I'm going to have to go Reguilon, because I think with Reguilon, he can play in the back four. And he was getting forward a lot for us and assisting a couple goals to Sonny. And he just needs to work on his finishing. Then he'd be like maybe considered as a wing back. But in the back four, I think Reguilon's not too bad.
I didn't mention Brian Hill. I mean, I didn't even count Brian Hill in that, because I think he's coming back anyway.
Yeah,
but Brian Hill, I want to see around. I really do. I really believe in Brian Hill.
Do you think he's a 10 or as a winger? As a 10 or as a winger?
Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe a hybrid between the two, a utility player, yeah. Why not?
Yeah. I agree, Ben. I'm agreeing with you a lot today, mate. I'm agreeing with you a lot.
Good.
Well done,
I'm also agreeing with you a lot, Sean, today. So
both muddied then.
It's a mud party,
Whoever still believes in Ndombele is swimming in mud. That's all I'm going to say.